I remember the exact moment my life split into two pieces, before that night and everything after it. I was sitting alone at a small table by the window of our favorite restaurant downtown. The place smelled like grilled steak and garlic butter. Soft music played from hidden speakers and couples laughed around me, but I kept staring at the empty chair across the table. Emily was late again. I checked my phone. 7:18 p.m. She was supposed to be here at 7. I sighed and tapped her contact. The call rang twice before she answered. "Hey," Emily said quickly. "Hey," I replied. "Where are you?" "The waiter already asked if I want to order." "I'm on my way." "You said that 20 minutes ago." "I know, Lucas. Just give me a few minutes, okay?" Something in her voice sounded strange. "That's Emily," I said slowly, "this dinner was your idea? You got promoted today. I thought you'd be excited." "I am excited," she said quickly. "Just wait for me." The line went dead. I stared at my phone. "Everything all right, sir?" the waiter asked beside me. "Yeah," I forced a smile. "She's coming. Take your time." He walked away. 10 minutes later, the door opened. I looked up. Emily walked inside and Ryan Carter walked in beside her, my best friend. For a second I just blinked. Then I laughed. "Wow," I said as they approached. "What's this? Ryan, did you kidnap my girlfriend on the way here?" Ryan chuckled awkwardly, but Emily didn't laugh. She didn't even look at me. They sat down across from me. Ryan leaned back in the chair like he owned the place, while Emily stared at the table. The silence felt heavy. I frowned. "Okay, what's going on?" Emily folded her hands together. "Lucas," her voice trembled and something inside my chest tightened. "Emily," I said slowly, "why do you look like someone just died?" Ryan cleared his throat. "Man," he said, "maybe we should just say it." I looked at him. "Say what?" Emily still wouldn't meet my eyes. "Lucas," she whispered, "I didn't know how to tell you." My stomach dropped. "Tell me what?" Ryan rubbed the back of his neck. "Look, bro, don't call me that," I said automatically. He stopped talking. Emily finally lifted her head. Her eyes were red. "I didn't mean for it to happen like this." "Like what?" Her lips trembled. "I've been seeing Ryan." The words hit me like a punch. I blinked. "Seeing Ryan? How?" Neither of them spoke. Then Ryan shrugged. "For a few months now." The room suddenly felt too small. "A few months," I repeated quietly. Emily nodded weakly. I stared at both of them, then I laughed, a short, confused laugh. "Okay, good joke." Neither of them smiled. My laugh slowly died. "You're serious?" Emily looked down again. "Lucas, please listen." "When?" I asked. "What? When did it start?" Ryan answered. "About 4 months ago." 4 months. My mind started racing. 4 months ago was when Emily started working late. 4 months ago was when Ryan stopped coming to our weekly basketball games. 4 months. "You were both lying to me for 4 months, I said quietly. Emily reached across the table. "Lucas," I pulled my hand away. "Don't." Ryan shifted in his seat. "Man, things just happened." I stared at him. "Things happened." He shrugged again. "We didn't plan it." Emily spoke quickly. "It started when Ryan helped me with a project at work. We spent time together and you decided to sleep with my best friend?" I interrupted. Her eyes filled with tears. "Lucas, please don't say it like that." "How should I say it?" Ryan leaned forward. "Look, man, I didn't want to hurt you." I stared at him. "You didn't want to hurt me." "Yeah. But you slept with my girlfriend." He didn't answer. I looked at Emily again. "You could have told me." I was scared. "Scared of what?" "Of hurting you." I laughed again. "That's funny." Emily wiped her eyes. "I never meant to fall for him." "Fall for him?" Ryan rubbed his hands together awkwardly. "Lucas, we didn't want you to find out like this." "Then how?" Neither of them spoke. The waiter appeared again beside our table. "Are you ready to order?" I looked up at him. "No, sir. I'm leaving." I stood up slowly. Emily stood too. "Lucas, wait." "Why?" "So we can talk." "We are talking." "No," she said desperately. "I mean really talk." Ryan stood up too. "Man, don't make a scene." I looked at him. "You already made the scene." People around us had started staring. Emily grabbed my arm. "Please don't walk away like this." I gently removed her hand. "You already walked away," I said quietly. Her face collapsed. "Lucas," I took a step back. Then another. Ryan opened his mouth like he wanted to say something, but I didn't wait. I turned around and walked toward the exit. The cold night air hit my face as soon as I stepped outside. For a moment, I just stood there on the sidewalk. My chest felt hollow, like someone had scooped everything out of it. Behind me, the restaurant door opened. "Lucas." Emily's voice. I kept walking. "Lucas, please." I didn't turn around because the truth finally settled inside my mind. The two people I trusted most had been lying to me for months. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. My life as I knew it was over. I just didn't know yet how much worse things were about to get. The weeks after that night felt like living inside a thick fog. I moved through my apartment slowly, like every step might break something fragile, and everything reminded me of Emily Harper. Her coffee mug still sat on the kitchen counter, her favorite blue sweater was draped over the back of the couch, and her books were stacked beside the bed. One morning I picked up the mug and muttered quietly to the empty room, "Why didn't Emily Harper take this?" The silence answered. I set the mug down harder than I meant to. Every night my mind replayed the same moment. The restaurant, Emily Harper sitting across from me, Ryan Carter leaning back in the chair, and the words that kept echoing, "I've been seeing Ryan Carter." I sat on the couch and rubbed my face. "For months," I whispered. 4 months of lies. My phone buzzed on the table. For a split second, hope sparked. Maybe Emily Harper changed her mind. Maybe Ryan Carter admitted everything was a mistake. I picked up the phone, but the screen showed a group chat. Old photos popped up. Ryan Carter and me laughing at a basketball game, Ryan Carter helping me move furniture into this apartment, Ryan Carter holding a pizza box while Emily Harper teased both of us. I closed the chat quickly. "Ryan Carter used to be family," I muttered, the words tasting bitter. Later that night my phone rang again. "Lucas Bennett?" a familiar voice asked. "Sarah Bennett?" I sighed. "How did Sarah Bennett hear already?" "Lucas Bennett, the whole family knows," Sarah Bennett replied. Lucas Bennett didn't answer calls for 2 days. I was busy. Lucas Bennett was hiding. Maybe. There was a pause before Sarah Bennett spoke softer. "Lucas Bennett okay?" I leaned back against the couch. "No, good," Sarah Bennett said. I frowned. "Good?" "Yeah," Sarah Bennett replied. If Lucas Bennett said everything was fine, Sarah Bennett would drive over and shake Lucas Bennett. I let out a small laugh. Sarah Bennett already planning violence? "Only emotional violence," Sarah Bennett said. "Sarah Bennett coming over tonight. You don't have to." "I know." The line ended. An hour later Sarah Bennett knocked on the door. I opened it and Sarah Bennett stepped inside and looked around the apartment. "Wow," Sarah Bennett said. "What?" "This place screams heartbreak." "Thanks." Sarah Bennett walked into the kitchen and grabbed 2 glasses. "Lucas Bennett eating?" "Not really." "Lucas Bennett eating tonight." Sarah Bennett opened the fridge. "Lucas Bennett still keeping Emily Harper's almond milk?" "Emily Harper liked it." Sarah Bennett shut the fridge slowly. "Lucas Bennett listened carefully," Sarah Bennett said. I leaned against the counter. "Lucas Bennett listening." Sarah Bennett crossed arms. "Emily Harper and Ryan Carter didn't just betray Lucas Bennett." "I know." "No," Sarah Bennett said firmly. "Emily Harper and Ryan Carter showed Lucas Bennett exactly who Emily Harper and Ryan Carter are." I looked down. "That doesn't make the pain disappear." "I know," Sarah Bennett said quietly. We sat on the couch. "Ryan Carter was Lucas Bennett's best friend," I said. "Ryan Carter was pretending to be Lucas Bennett's best friend," Sarah Bennett replied. "That difference doesn't help." Sarah Bennett nudged my shoulder. "Lucas Bennett still breathing." "Barely." "Still breathing," Sarah Bennett repeated. We talked for hours until eventually Sarah Bennett stood up. "Lucas Bennett going to be okay?" Sarah Bennett said. "How does Sarah Bennett know?" "Because Lucas Bennett always survives stupid people." Sarah Bennett grabbed a jacket. "Call Sarah Bennett tomorrow." "Okay." After Sarah Bennett left, the apartment felt even quieter. I stared at the ceiling until my phone buzzed again. A new message. Emily Harper. My chest tightened as I opened it. "Lucas? Emily Harper sorry. Emily Harper hopes Lucas Bennett understands someday." I stared at the words. "Understands what?" I whispered. "Understands betrayal? Understands lies? Understands watching the 2 people I trusted destroy everything?" My fingers hovered above the screen. I could type 100 responses, anger, questions, pain, but instead I deleted the message. "Goodbye, Emily Harper," I said quietly. The next morning I woke up early and made coffee. What? No almond milk. I sat at the table scrolling through my phone until I saw something. Ryan Carter posted a photo online. Ryan Carter and Emily Harper standing together at a rooftop bar. Ryan Carter smiling wide while Emily Harper leaned close. The caption read, "Sometimes life surprises you." I stared at the picture for a long time. My chest felt heavy, but something else stirred underneath the pain. Not anger. Not revenge. Something colder. Something quiet. I closed the app slowly and spoke out loud. Lucas Bennett has a choice. The words echoed in the silent apartment. Lucas Bennett could stay here, keep replaying memories, keep staring at empty chairs and broken promises, or Lucas Bennett could leave the past behind. I stood up and looked around the apartment. Emily Harper's books, Emily Harper's sweater, Emily Harper's mug. For the first time I didn't feel like crying. Instead I felt something strange, clarity. Lucas Bennett not staying broken, I said softly because the truth had finally become clear. Emily Harper made a choice. Ryan Carter made a choice. Now it was my turn. I could keep drowning in betrayal or Lucas Bennett could walk away. The morning I decided to leave the apartment, the silence felt heavier than usual. I stood in the living room staring at the couch Emily and I bought together. "I guess this is the end," I muttered, the words sounding strange in my own voice. I grabbed a cardboard box and started packing. Emily's books went in first, then the photos. One picture showed Emily smiling between Ryan and me during a beach trip. I stared at it for a moment. "Funny," I whispered. "Ryan stole more than a girlfriend." I tossed the picture into the box and sealed it. Just then the doorbell rang. I opened the door and saw my cousin Daniel leaning against the hallway wall. "Lucas," Daniel said. "Daniel." Daniel stepped inside and looked around. "Looks like a hurricane hit this place." "More like a betrayal." Daniel nodded slowly. "I heard about Emily and Ryan." "Everyone did." Daniel walked to the kitchen. "Lucas eating?" "Not really." Daniel opened the fridge and frowned. "Lucas surviving on coffee?" "Coffee and bad decisions." Daniel leaned against the counter. "Lucas needs a fresh start." "I tried fresh starts before." "Not like this one." I crossed my arms. "What does that mean?" Daniel looked straight at me. "Come work for me." "Where?" "Riverside." "That's 4 hours away." Daniel shrugged. "Good. I can't just disappear." "Why not?" "Because this is my life." Daniel gestured around the empty apartment. "This life." I didn't answer. Daniel continued, "Lucas can keep staring at ghosts here, or Lucas can build something new." I sighed. "Daniel runs a construction company, not a therapy clinic." Daniel laughed. "Construction is therapy." "How?" Daniel smiled slightly. "Broken things get rebuilt." The words lingered as I looked at the boxes again. "You really think leaving fixes anything?" Daniel shook his head. "Leaving doesn't fix things." "What does?" "Time. Or distance." I rubbed my temples. "Emily and Ryan are still here." "Exactly," Daniel replied. "Lucas running away?" "No," Daniel said firmly. "Lucas walking away." There was a difference and I didn't realize it until that moment. Daniel checked the time. "Think about it," Daniel said. "Lucas always has a job with me." Daniel walked toward the door. "Call Daniel tonight." The door closed and the apartment felt even emptier. I sat on the couch for a long time, then looked at the packed boxes. "This town knows every version of Lucas Bennett," I said quietly, "the broken one, the betrayed one." Maybe Daniel was right. Maybe the only way forward was leaving. I picked up my phone and dialed. Daniel answered immediately. "Lucas ready?" "I'll take the job." Daniel laughed. "Good choice. When do we start?" "Tomorrow." "That fast?" "Fresh starts don't wait." The next morning I loaded everything into my car. The apartment looked hollow. I walked through every room one last time. "Goodbye," I whispered, not to Emily, not to Ryan, but to the life I thought I had. The drive to Riverside took 4 quiet hours. The road stretched endlessly ahead. Daniel called halfway through. "Lucas still driving?" "Yeah." "Nervous?" "A little." "Good." "Why good?" "Means Lucas cares." "What if this doesn't work?" Daniel laughed. "Then Lucas tries something else." Riverside appeared on the horizon as the sun started setting, a smaller city with quieter streets. Daniel met me outside a small office building. "Welcome to Riverside," Daniel said. I stepped out of the car. "So this is home now?" "For a while." Daniel handed me a hard hat. "Work starts early." "How early?" 6. "That's cruel. Construction doesn't care about sleep." The next morning Daniel dragged me to the job site before sunrise. Half-built houses stood across the neighborhood while workers moved around carrying tools and wood. Daniel handed me gloves. "Lucas, ready?" "I think so." "Good." Daniel pointed toward a wall frame. "Help Marcus finish that frame." I walked over. Marcus looked up. "New guy." "Lucas." Marcus nodded. "Grab the hammer." We worked quietly for a while, hammer, nails, wood. Piece by piece the wall came together. Marcus glanced at me. "Lucas new to construction?" "Yeah." "Lucas learning fast." I smiled slightly. "Lucas trying." Hours passed quickly, and for the first time in weeks my mind stopped replaying the restaurant scene. Work demanded focus. At lunch Daniel sat beside me on a pile of lumber. "Lucas surviving?" "Barely." Daniel laughed. "That's progress." We watched the workers finish the frame. Daniel spoke again. "Lucas, know the strange thing about houses?" "What?" "Houses get destroyed all the time. That's depressing." Daniel shook his head. "But people rebuild." I looked at the half-built home. "Why?" "Because starting over is part of life." Daniel stood up and said something I never forgot. "Lucas can't control who betrays Lucas." I looked up. "But Lucas controls what happens next." The words stayed with me the rest of the day and the next and the next. Weeks passed. Work filled every hour, hammering, lifting, building. The houses slowly took shape. Walls became rooms and rooms became homes. Somewhere along the way something inside me changed too. One night I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. For the first time in months my mind felt quiet. No restaurant. No Emily. No Ryan. Just silence. I closed my eyes and slept. When morning came I realized something surprising. Walking away didn't make me weak. Walking away saved me. Every wall I helped build reminded me of something simple. Life doesn't end after betrayal. Life rebuilds, piece by piece, brick by brick. And for the first time since everything collapsed, I finally felt something I thought was gone. Freedom. Months passed before I realized something inside me had started healing. Work filled most of my days, hammering wood, carrying beams, measuring walls. Construction didn't give my mind much room to wander. One morning Daniel tossed a blueprint onto the table. "Lucas, take a look." I unfolded the paper. "New project." Daniel nodded. 3 houses instead of 1. "That's a lot." Daniel grinned. "Lucas earned the promotion." "Promotion?" "Lucas supervising the build." I blinked. "Daniel serious?" "Completely." "Daniel trusting me with this?" "Lucas showed up every day," Daniel said. "That matters." I studied the blueprint again. "All right," I said slowly. "Lucas will handle it." Daniel slapped my shoulder. "That's the attitude." Work became even busier after that. "Marcus, move the beams to the back," I called across the site. Marcus looked over. "Lucas acting like a boss now?" "Lucas is the boss today." Marcus laughed. "Fair enough." By sunset every day my arms felt like concrete, but the exhaustion helped. The nights were quiet and the memories slowly faded. One evening after work I decided to walk through Riverside instead of going home. The air felt cool and streetlights glowed softly along the sidewalks. A small sign caught my attention, "Riverside Books." I hesitated outside the door. "Lucas hasn't read a book in months," I muttered. Then I pushed the door open. A bell chimed softly. Inside the store smelled like old paper and coffee, and rows of shelves stretched across the quiet room. A voice spoke from behind the counter. "Welcome." I turned and saw a woman standing behind the register with brown hair tied loosely back and warm eyes. "You look lost," the woman said with a smile. "Just browsing." The woman leaned forward slightly. "Let me guess." "What?" "You're the reason half the buildings in this city are under renovation." I glanced down at my jacket covered in dust. "Construction dust gave me away?" "Pretty obvious." I laughed. "Lucas Bennett," I said, extending my hand. "Ava Thompson," the woman replied. "Nice place." "Thanks," Ava Thompson said. "Books keep Riverside civilized." Lucas thought coffee did that. That too. I wandered toward a shelf and Ava Thompson followed. "So Lucas Bennett builds houses?" "Trying to." "Sounds peaceful." "Most days." "What about the other days?" "Those involve dropped hammers and bad measurements." Ava Thompson laughed softly. "Lucas Bennett seems honest." "Lucas Bennett tries." Ava Thompson pulled a book from the shelf. "Here. This one's good." "What's it about?" "Second chances." I raised an eyebrow. "That sounds suspiciously personal." Ava Thompson shrugged. Everyone needs second chances. I flipped through the pages. How long has this store been here? 5 years. Busy? Sometimes. And the rest of the time? Quiet conversations with strangers. Like this one? Exactly. We talked longer than I expected. Books turned into stories and stories turned into jokes. At one point Ava Thompson leaned against the counter. Lucas Bennett looks happier now. Now. Compared to when Lucas Bennett walked in. Lucas Bennett looked that miserable? A little. Thanks for the honesty. Bookstore owners are brutally honest. I checked the time. Lucas Bennett has been here almost an hour. Time flies when people talk about books. Lucas Bennett didn't even buy one yet. Ava Thompson pointed at the book in my hand. Problem solved. I placed the book on the counter. Lucas Bennett will take it. Good choice. While Ava Thompson rang up the purchase, the door chimed again and an older man walked inside carrying a newspaper. Ava Thompson smiled. Professor Whitaker, right on schedule? The man adjusted his glasses. Evening, Ava Thompson. Professor Whitaker noticed me standing nearby. New reader? Something like that, I replied. Ava Thompson handed me the book. Lucas Bennett just moved to Riverside. Professor Whitaker nodded thoughtfully. Fresh starts are important. I'm beginning to believe that. Professor Whitaker sat at a small table near the window while Ava Thompson leaned closer to me. Professor Whitaker gives advice to everyone. Good advice. Usually. Professor Whitaker glanced over. Lucas Bennett should sit. I walked over and pulled out a chair. Professor Whitaker folded the newspaper. So, Lucas Bennett. What brings Lucas Bennett to Riverside? Work. Construction. Yeah. Professor Whitaker smiled slightly. Building houses is honorable. It keeps my mind busy. Busy minds heal faster. I looked at the book in my hand. Lucas Bennett is working on that. Professor Whitaker studied me quietly. Lucas Bennett looks like someone recovering from disappointment. That obvious? Professor Whitaker chuckled. Age brings pattern recognition. Ava Thompson walked over with 3 cups of tea. Evening tea break. Professor Whitaker nodded. Perfect timing. I took a sip. Professor Whitaker seems wise. Professor Whitaker is old, the man replied. Same difference. Professor Whitaker smiled. Lucas Bennett should remember something important. What's that? Professor Whitaker leaned back. The best revenge is a peaceful life. The words caught me off guard. Lucas Bennett wasn't thinking about revenge. Good, Professor Whitaker said, because revenge wastes time. What doesn't? Peace. I sat quietly for a moment while Ava Thompson looked at me. Lucas Bennett thinking hard. Just listening. Professor Whitaker stood up slowly. Lucas Bennett will understand someday. Understand what? Professor Whitaker smiled gently. That happiness doesn't require anyone's approval. Professor Whitaker walked toward the door. Ava Thompson waved. See you tomorrow? The bell chimed as the door closed. I looked down at the book in my hands, then back at Ava Thompson. Interesting town. Ava Thompson smiled. Riverside grows on people. Lucas Bennett thinks it already has. Outside the sky had turned dark. I stepped onto the sidewalk holding the book. Something felt different, lighter. Ryan Carter and Emily Harper were probably still chasing excitement somewhere, but standing under the quiet streetlights I realized something surprising. Peace felt better. And for the first time in a long while, I wasn't thinking about the life I lost. I was starting to see the life I almost missed. Nearly a year passed before Ryan Carter and Emily Harper returned to my life. Not in person, but through a conversation I never expected. It happened on a warm afternoon at the construction site when Marcus dropped a toolbox beside me and wiped sweat from his forehead. Lucas, Marcus said. Yeah. Marcus hesitated. Marcus needs to ask something. Go ahead. Lucas used to know Ryan Carter, right? The name felt strange after so long. Yeah, I said carefully. Ryan Carter was my best friend. Marcus scratched the back of his neck. Marcus worked with Ryan Carter before moving here. My grip tightened on the hammer. Really? Yeah. Small world. Marcus nodded slowly. Marcus didn't know Lucas Bennett and Ryan Carter had history until Daniel mentioned it. I leaned against the wooden frame. Ryan Carter talk about me? Marcus hesitated again. Sometimes. Good things or bad things? Marcus sighed. Complicated things. Marcus should just say it. Marcus sat down on a stack of lumber. Ryan Carter and Emily Harper don't look happy. That surprised me. Really? Yeah. What happened? Marcus shrugged. Ryan Carter started gambling. Gambling? Poker games. Sports bets. Casino trips. How bad? Marcus shook his head. Bad enough. I frowned. Emily Harper okay with that? Marcus laughed dryly. Not even close. So they argue? All the time. The hammer slipped from my hand and hit the ground. Constant fighting? Pretty much. I picked up the hammer again. That doesn't sound like the perfect relationship Ryan Carter posted online. Marcus snorted. Social media lies. True. Marcus leaned forward. Ryan Carter spends money like it's endless. Ryan Carter never cared about consequences. Marcus noticed. We worked quietly for a moment before Marcus spoke again. Ryan Carter also talks a lot. About what? Business ideas. I froze. What kind of ideas? Marcus shrugged. Construction plans. Investment strategies. Ryan Carter never worked construction. I know. A strange feeling crept into my chest. Where did Ryan Carter get those ideas? Marcus looked at me carefully. Marcus assumed Lucas Bennett. Silence fell between us. Marcus continued slowly. Ryan Carter bragged about it once. What did Ryan Carter say? Marcus rubbed his hands together. Ryan Carter said Ryan Carter learned everything from a friend. Then Ryan Carter used the ideas first. My jaw tightened. Ryan Carter said that? Yeah. I stared at the half-built wall in front of me. So Ryan Carter stole my ideas. Marcus didn't respond. Anger flickered inside my chest. Not the explosive anger from before, but something colder and sharper. Marcus noticed my expression. Lucas okay? Lucas fine. Doesn't look fine. Lucas moved on. Marcus nodded. Marcus figured. We worked silently for a while, but my thoughts kept drifting. Ryan Carter gambling, Ryan Carter arguing with Emily Harper, Ryan Carter bragging about stolen ideas. The life Ryan Carter chose looked messier than I imagined. After work I stopped by the bookstore. The bell chimed when I entered and Ava looked up from the counter. Lucas Bennett looks serious tonight. Long day. Ava crossed her arms. Construction trouble? Something like that. Ava tilted her head. Lucas Bennett wants to talk? Maybe. I walked to the counter. Marcus Reed told Lucas Bennett something today. What kind of something? News about Ryan Carter and Emily Harper. Ava's expression softened. Lucas Bennett sure Lucas Bennett wants to hear that? Too late. What happened? Ryan Carter started gambling. Ava frowned. That sounds destructive. Emily Harper hates it. I imagine Emily Harper would. Marcus Reed said they argue constantly. Ava sighed. Relationships built on betrayal rarely become peaceful. I leaned against the counter. Marcus Reed also said Ryan Carter bragged about stealing ideas. Ava raised an eyebrow. From Lucas Bennett? Probably. Ava studied my face. Lucas Bennett angry? Maybe a little. That's normal. Lucas Bennett thought the anger disappeared. Anger fades, Ava said quietly, but memory stays. I stared at the bookshelves. Part of Lucas Bennett wants to confront Ryan Carter. And the other part? Doesn't care anymore. Ava smiled gently. That second part is winning. Maybe. Ava leaned closer. Lucas Bennett already won. How? Lucas Bennett moved forward. That doesn't feel like winning. It is. Ava tapped the book on the counter. Lucas Bennett built a new life. Ryan Carter didn't destroy that. I exhaled slowly. Still feels unfair. Life isn't about fairness, Ava said softly. Then what? Peace. The word sounded familiar. Professor Whitaker said something similar. Professor Whitaker says many wise things. I glanced toward the small table where Professor Whitaker usually Saturday. Professor Whitaker here tonight? Not yet. Outside the evening sky turned orange. I looked back at Ava. Ryan Carter and Emily Harper looked happy online. Ava shrugged. People perform happiness. Real happiness is quieter. I thought about that. Maybe Ryan Carter and Emily Harper are learning that now. Maybe. Ava handed me a cup of tea. Lucas Bennett doesn't need to watch their downfall. Why not? Because Lucas Bennett already escaped. I took a sip and felt the warmth settle my thoughts. For the first time since Marcus mentioned Ryan Carter's name, the anger faded again. Ryan Carter chose that life. Emily Harper chose that life. And the cracks were already forming. Arguments, debt, dishonesty. A house built on broken trust eventually collapses, but I didn't need to push it. Karma was already working, slow, quiet, unstoppable. And the best part was that I didn't have to lift a finger. The news reached me on a quiet afternoon. Marcus walked across the construction site holding a phone. "Lucas," Marcus called. "What happened?" I asked. Marcus shook his head slowly. "Lucas remembers Ryan Carter?" "That name again," I muttered. "Yeah." "What about Ryan Carter?" Marcus showed me the screen. "Ryan Carter lost the job." "How?" "Financial mess," Marcus replied. "Gambling debts caught up." I stared at the article. "Ryan Carter always liked shortcuts." Marcus nodded. "Apparently Ryan Carter used company money to cover gambling losses." "That sounds like Ryan Carter." "Company fired Ryan Carter immediately." I exhaled slowly. "Rough." Marcus studied my face. "Lucas doesn't look surprised." "I'm not." Marcus continued, "That's not the only thing." "What else?" "Emily Harper's promotion got revoked." "Why?" Marcus shrugged. "Rumors started spreading about Ryan Carter's debts." "That affected Emily Harper's job?" "Management didn't like the connection." I leaned against a wooden beam. "So everything collapsed at once." "Pretty much." Marcus scrolled further down the article. "One more thing." "What now?" "Ryan Carter and Emily Harper lost the apartment." "How?" "Debt collectors." I looked at the half-built house in front of me. "Ryan Carter burned everything." Marcus nodded. Marcus thought Lucas should know. "Thanks." Marcus hesitated. "Lucas okay hearing all this?" I shrugged. "I feel distant." "Not angry?" "Not really." Marcus studied me carefully. "That's growth." "Maybe." Marcus returned to work, but I stayed there for a moment thinking. A year ago that news would have destroyed me. Now it just felt like someone else's story. That night I went to the bookstore. The bell chimed as I walked inside. Ava looked up from the counter. "Lucas Bennett looks thoughtful." Marcus Reed brought news. "Good news or bad news?" "Depends on perspective." Ava poured tea into 2 cups. "Tell me." "Ryan Carter lost the job." Ava raised an eyebrow. "What happened?" "Gambling scandal." That escalated quickly. "Emily Harper also lost the promotion." "Because of Ryan Carter?" "Yeah." Ava shook her head slowly. "That's tragic." "Ryan Carter and Emily Harper also lost the apartment." Ava sighed. "So the perfect life cracked." "Exactly." Ava studied my face. "How does Lucas Bennett feel?" "Calm." "No anger?" "Not anymore." Ava smiled gently. "That's real healing." I nodded. For a moment we sat quietly. Then my phone buzzed. I glanced down at the screen and my chest tightened slightly. The name looked familiar. Emily Harper. Ava noticed my expression. "Lucas Bennett okay?" "Emily Harper just texted." Ava leaned forward. "What did Emily Harper say?" I read the message out loud. "Lucas, can we talk?" The bookstore suddenly felt quieter. Ava spoke carefully. "Lucas Bennett doesn't have to answer." "I know." I stared at the message as memories rushed back. The restaurant, Ryan Carter leaning back in the chair, Emily Harper whispering the confession. For a long time I said nothing while Ava waited patiently. "Lucas Bennett thinking?" Ava asked. "Yeah." "What does Lucas Bennett feel?" "Nothing." "That's surprising." "Not angry. Not heartbroken. Just distant." Ava nodded slowly. "That means Lucas Bennett moved on." I looked at the message again. Emily Harper wants something. Probably forgiveness. Or closure. Maybe both. I sighed. "Lucas Bennett doesn't owe Emily Harper anything." "That's true," Ava said softly. "But Lucas Bennett might want answers." "Do I?" Ava didn't respond. Instead Ava slid the teacup toward me. "Lucas Bennett should decide carefully." I picked up the phone and my fingers hovered above the screen. Finally I typed one word. "Why?" I sent the message. Ava watched quietly. That was simple. Simple questions get honest answers. A few seconds passed before my phone buzzed again. Emily Harper replied immediately, "I made a mistake." I stared at the words. Ava looked curious. "What did Emily Harper say?" "Emily Harper said Emily Harper made a mistake." Ava sighed. "That's a heavy sentence." "Yeah." I leaned back in the chair. The strange thing was how calm I felt. No rage, no heartbreak, just distance. A year ago I would have begged for explanations. Now the situation felt different. Ava watched me carefully. "Lucas Bennett realizing something?" "Yeah." "What?" "The people who broke Lucas Bennett are asking for answers now." "That's powerful." Maybe. I stared at the phone again. Emily Harper started typing another message, then stopping, typing again as the screen flickered. But I didn't feel anxious because something inside me had changed. For months I thought closure meant hearing Emily Harper apologize, but sitting there in the quiet bookstore I finally understood the truth. Closure didn't come from Emily Harper. Closure came from the life I built after leaving. I placed the phone on the table and Ava noticed the movement. Lucas Bennett finished the conversation? Not yet. But Lucas Bennett doesn't look interested. I'm not desperate anymore. Ava smiled. That's freedom. I looked around the bookstore, the warm lights, the quiet shelves, the peaceful silence, everything Ryan Carter and Emily Harper once took from me. And suddenly I understood something clearly. I didn't need answers from the past because the past no longer had power over me. Emily texted again the next morning. Lucas, can Emily Harper see Lucas Bennett once? I stared at the message while sitting in the bookstore. Ava noticed immediately. That look means trouble, Ava said. Emily Harper wants to meet. Ava leaned against the counter. Lucas Bennett wants to meet? I'm not sure. What does Lucas Bennett feel? Curiosity. Anything else? Closure. Ava nodded slowly. Then Lucas Bennett should go. You think so? Only if Lucas Bennett isn't hoping for the past to come back. I'm not. Ava smiled gently. Then Lucas Bennett is ready. I texted Emily back. Tomorrow? Coffee shop on Main Street. Emily replied instantly. Thank you. The next afternoon I arrived early. The cafe smelled like roasted beans and cinnamon. I chose a table near the window and rested my hands calmly on the table. A year ago I would have been shaking, but now I felt steady. The door opened and Emily walked inside. For a moment I barely recognized her. Emily looked thinner, tired, and the confident glow she used to carry had faded. Emily spotted me and walked over slowly. Hi, Lucas. Hi, Emily. Emily sat down and for a few seconds neither of us spoke. Then Emily whispered, Lucas looks different. I feel different. Emily nodded. Lucas Bennett doing well? Yeah. That's good. A waiter approached. Coffee? The waiter asked. Black, I said. Emily spoke quietly. Same. The waiter left. Emily folded both hands together. I wasn't sure Lucas would come. I almost didn't. Emily looked down. Emily Harper understands. The coffee arrived and Emily took a sip before speaking again. Lucas probably heard what happened. Some of it. Emily exhaled slowly. Ryan Carter left months ago. I heard. Emily gave a sad smile. Ryan Carter disappeared after the debts piled up. That sounds like Ryan Carter. Emily didn't argue. Everything collapsed. I'm sorry. Emily blinked in surprise. Lucas Bennett, sorry? I don't enjoy watching people fall apart. Emily looked at the table again. Emily Harper deserved it. That's not for Lucas Bennett to decide. Emily wiped one eye. I ruined everything. I stayed quiet while Emily continued. Ryan Carter looked exciting. Exciting? Ryan Carter was confident, risky, different. And Lucas Bennett was boring? Emily shook her head quickly. No. Lucas Bennett was safe. Safe isn't bad. I know that now. Emily's voice cracked slightly. I thought excitement mattered more than loyalty. That was the choice Emily Harper made. Emily nodded. I was selfish. I didn't interrupt. Emily continued. Lucas Bennett trusted Emily Harper completely. Yeah. And Emily Harper destroyed that trust. Yes. Emily wiped tears away. I replay that night all the time. So do I. Emily looked up suddenly. Lucas Bennett hated Emily Harper after that? Not exactly. What then? Hurt. Emily nodded slowly. I deserved that. Silence settled between us before Emily whispered, Lucas Bennett ever think about getting back together? I looked at Emily carefully. The question didn't make me angry, it just felt distant. I loved Emily Harper once, I said. Emily leaned forward slightly. Once? Yes. What happened to that love? It disappeared the night Emily Harper chose Ryan Carter. Emily looked crushed. People change, Emily said softly. They do. So maybe things could start again? I shook my head gently. That wouldn't be honest. Emily's voice trembled. Why not? Because the man who loved Emily Harper doesn't exist anymore. Emily's eyes filled with tears. I destroyed that person. Yes. Emily covered the face briefly. I wish I could go back. Time doesn't work like that. Emily lowered both hands slowly. Lucas Bennett looks peaceful. I am. That hurts to hear. Why? Because Emily Harper is the reason Lucas Bennett changed. Maybe. Emily sniffed quietly. Lucas Bennett hates Emily Harper now? No, what does Lucas Bennett feel? Acceptance. Emily stared at me. That's worse. Why? Because Emily Harper doesn't even matter anymore. The truth sat between us and Emily wasn't wrong. The pain was gone and so was the love. Emily wiped tears again. Lucas Bennett deserves better. I found something better. Emily looked curious. What? Peace. Emily nodded slowly. Emily Harper is glad Lucas Bennett found that. Another silence passed before Emily finally stood up. Thank you for meeting Emily Harper. You're welcome. Emily hesitated. Lucas Bennett will forgive Emily Harper someday? I already did. Emily looked surprised. Really? Yes. But forgiveness doesn't rebuild burned bridges. Emily nodded slowly. I understand. Emily turned toward the door, then stopped and looked back. Lucas Bennett was the best thing Emily Harper ever had. I didn't answer because the truth no longer needed words. Emily walked out of the cafe quietly. I watched through the window as Emily disappeared down the street. Strangely, my chest felt light, not victorious, not bitter, just peaceful. Some bridges burn forever, and sometimes letting them stay ashes is the healthiest choice. 2 years passed faster than I expected. One afternoon, Daniel tossed a folder onto my desk. Lucas, take a look. I opened it. Another project? Daniel grinned. 3 new developments. That's huge. Lucas Bennett helped build this company. Daniel Brooks built it first. Lucas Bennett expanded it. I studied the plans. Lucas Bennett never imagined this. Daniel crossed his arms. Lucas Bennett, remember the first day here? Lucas Bennett barely knew how to hold a hammer. Daniel laughed. Now Lucas Bennett runs half the sites. Daniel exaggerates. Not really. Marcus walked into the office. Lucas Bennett ready for the new project meeting? Already? Investors arriving tomorrow. Daniel pointed at me. Lucas Bennett presenting. Daniel serious? Marcus smirked. Lucas Bennett earned it. I shook my head. Life feels strange sometimes. Daniel raised an eyebrow. How so? 2 years ago Lucas Bennett thought life was over. Daniel leaned back. And now? Now life looks better than before. Daniel smiled quietly. That's what rebuilding does. After work I walked toward the bookstore. The familiar bell chimed when I opened the door. Ava looked up from behind the counter. Lucas Bennett looks proud today. Big day at the company. Ava smiled warmly. Lucas Bennett and Daniel Brooks built something impressive. We all did. Ava walked around the counter. Lucas Bennett hungry? Always. Dinner outside tonight? That sounds perfect. We carried 2 cups of tea outside the bookstore, where the sunset painted the sky orange and gold. Ava sat beside me on the bench. Beautiful evening. Riverside does sunsets well. Ava looked at me quietly. Lucas Bennett seems peaceful. I am. That took time. Everything worthwhile does. Ava sipped tea. Lucas Bennett, remember the first day in the bookstore? Of course. Lucas Bennett looked lost. I was. Ava smiled softly. Now Lucas Bennett looks different. How? Grounded. Lucas Bennett likes that word. We sat quietly watching the sky change colors before Ava asked gently, Lucas Bennett ever regret walking away? The question hung in the air. For a moment I didn't answer. My mind drifted backward, to the restaurant, Emily Harper across the table, Ryan Carter leaning back in the chair, the moment everything collapsed. Ava waited patiently. What are you thinking? Ava asked. Lucas Bennett remembering the past. Painful memories? Not anymore. So, any regret? I shook my head slowly. No, Ava tilted her head. None at all. That was the best decision Lucas Bennett ever made. Ava smiled. That's powerful. Walking away saved Lucas Bennett. Explain. If Lucas Bennett stayed, life would still revolve around betrayal. And now? Now life revolves around growth. Ava nodded thoughtfully. Lucas Bennett turned pain into progress. Something like that. Ava leaned back on the bench. Ryan Carter and Emily Harper ever crossed Lucas Bennett's mind? Sometimes. And? Those thoughts don't hurt anymore. That's real freedom. I watched the last rays of sunlight disappear behind the buildings. Lucas Bennett realized something important. What's that? Losing Emily Harper didn't destroy life. What did losing Emily Harper do? It revealed life. Ava smiled at that. Meaning? Lucas Bennett discovered what matters. Which is peace. Ava tapped my shoulder gently. And honesty. Yes. And patience. Yes. And maybe a little bookstore owner. I laughed softly. That part definitely matters. Ava looked out toward the quiet street. Lucas Bennett knows what Ava Thompson appreciates most? What? That Lucas Bennett never rushed anything. Some lessons take time. Ava nodded. That's why this works. This? Us. The word felt natural, not dramatic, just real. I reached for Ava's hand. Lucas Bennett feels lucky. Lucky. Because the worst night of Lucas Bennett's life led here. Ava squeezed my hand. That's perspective. It's truth. We sat quietly for a while. The town felt peaceful. Cars passed slowly and the bookstore lights glowed warmly behind us. Finally Ava asked another question. What does Lucas Bennett want next? Expansion for the company. That's predictable. And maybe a trip. Where? Somewhere with ocean views. Ava laughed. That sounds wonderful. And maybe a future. Ava looked at me. What kind of future? The kind built on trust. Ava nodded slowly. That's the only kind worth building. The streetlights flickered on as evening settled over Riverside. I looked around the quiet town. 2 years ago I arrived broken and now everything looked different. The company thrived, friendships grew stronger, and beside me sat someone who valued honesty more than excitement. I thought about Ryan Carter, about Emily Harper, about the night everything shattered. Then I smiled because the truth was simple. The past didn't control me anymore. The past didn't even matter. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't revenge. Sometimes the greatest victory is living so well that the people who hurt you become irrelevant. I stood up and helped Ava to her feet. Ready to close the bookstore? I asked. Always. We walked back inside together, and as I turned off the lights, one final thought crossed my mind. Walking away didn't mean losing. Walking away meant choosing a better life. And Lucas Bennett never looked back.